Hey everybody, welcome to the College Curious podcast. My name is Navya and I'm a junior. Today I'm here with College Admission Officer Miss Hannah Corcoran from the Catholic University of America. Miss Corcoran, thank you so much for joining us today. It means so much that you're here. Could I please request you to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Hannah Corcoran. I am an admission counselor at Catholic University. I've been an admission counselor for about 2.5 years now. And prior to my admission experience, I was actually a student at Catholic University between 2019 and 2023. So I'm super excited to be talking to you today and answering some of your questions. And thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, amazing. And that's actually so cool that you went to Catholic University of America.
Yeah,
Okay.
I loved it here.
So, just to give a little bit of background as to why this initiative was started, I personally was motivated because the college admissions process seems daunting, and when surveying high school upperclassmen, majority of students agreed with me. So, this is my sincere effort to help real students get real answers from real admissions officers. So, welcome to the podcast. Before we start, Ms. Corcoran, let's start off with a little bit of an icebreaker. Would you rather host a virtual info session with your camera frozen for the whole time or be stuck on mute for an entire Q&A session?
That's a great question. This has happened to me before, so I will say that I would rather have my face be frozen for a whole Q&A session online on Zoom. That can be super awkward because obviously you don't know what your face is looking like when it decides to freeze spontaneously. But the most important thing is that people can hear what you're saying. So I would rather they have the ability to hear everything I'm talking about. And also, that is a great icebreaker in a way for those virtual meetings. If something silly and very human like that happens, it tends to put everybody else at ease and make everybody more comfortable. So it's not the end of the world, but I definitely would rather they hear what I have to say than see my face.
Definitely an amazing answer. And I think all our students from we COVID in sixth grade, that was happening all the time. So we totally get that. So we can just dive right into the questions and we're going to start off a little bit more general. So in the application itself, students are, they're filling out their essays, they're filling out their extracurricular points, their volunteer points, and, they're getting the recommendations in. So, what do students often overestimate in importance, and what do they underestimate in importance in terms of the application itself?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because there are so many different parts to the college application. It can be hard to decipher which things you should place a little bit more emphasis or attention to in your college application versus things that maybe don't carry as much weight. I'll start off by saying some of the things that students underestimate in the college application. And that is going to be the essay. The essay is the most direct way for college admission counselors to hear the story about the student from the mouth of the student. It's your opportunity to create and direct the narrative that you want to showcase to college representatives, no matter where you're applying to college. It's the one thing we get to look at that's not grades or classes transcript wise, but it allows you to, again, create and drive that narrative. So the essay can be really important, even though you're probably thinking we place so much more weight on other things like your transcript and activities sheet. On the other hand of that, the a lot of students I talk to are overly stressed about their activity section slash their resume portion of their common application. So I'll start by talking about the activity section first. A lot of students stress about what order they should put their activities in, if there's a specific flow that is somehow the right formula for college admissions to read, as well as how they should describe what they're involved in. And I always tell students that the order doesn't particularly matter, although most naturally you should write about the things that you are the most involved with or have been involved with for the longest period of time at the top, because you'll probably have the most to say about that, and most likely it's involved with other things that you're part of. So let's say you're student council president, that probably also will connect to if you're involved with NHS, if you're an ambassador for your high school. So, kind of leading off with those stronger involvements can be really helpful. And you get, I think you get at least 100 words in each part for the activity section. So, talk about what responsibilities you had instead of just saying, we had meetings during the school year. You can say, I organized the meetings, I scheduled interviews with prospective club members. I managed the budget. You can be a little bit more specific and action driven when you're describing those things.
Hmm.
I mentioned the resume. That is something that students are stressed about as well. The activities page and the resume are so similar. So for a lot of schools, you actually don't need to include a resume because it is redundant when we look at that activities page and then basically the same thing is shown on a Word document. However, resumes can be super helpful for students with particular school applications because certain schools have certain scholarships, awards, or program opportunities that are centered around things like service and leadership and other types of involvement. So for some schools, an extra resume, maybe highlighting all of the service that you've been a part of, can be really advantageous for your application and open up other doors of opportunity for, again, scholarship and different programs. But generally, that activity sheet that's already a part of the Common App takes care of all of that reporting for you.
Mm-hmm. That's an amazing answer. And actually, I think I agree with you on the part of everyone stressing out about the extracurricular part, especially not in the way, like from the student point of view. I feel like a lot of people are like trying to immerse themselves in every single activity. And sometimes they do all that and then when it comes to the essay, it's like kind of confusing because it's like, okay, what are you really interested in? So I definitely agree with you on that part. And talking about the application itself again, there's a lot of strong applicants who come to your schools, and I wanted to ask, what do these strong applicants tend to have in common outside of academics and activities? Is there a certain key feature or key personality that the strong applicants have?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of, the big part about the college application certainly is those extracurricular activities that you're involved in, the transcript, which of course you know is so important. But what makes a strong application really stand out amongst those other factors. And I think the letters of recommendation can really go a long way. Reading dynamic letters of recommendation can showcase students in different types of environments and give them different spotlights, which can help us as admission counselors understand the student better in different scenarios, but also see where that student may fit into our campus in different areas across campus. So that could be maybe a teacher who's also a coach can highlight you as both somebody who is a great contributor in the classroom, but also a really great teammate on the field. That's an example of a really dynamic letter of recommendation that a student can, again, select specifically to showcase them in different contexts. Also, letters of recommendation don't necessarily have to come from your favorite teacher or the teacher in which you got an A in their class for 3 years in a row. I really enjoy reading letters of recommendation that fill in gaps for students. So let's say you really want to be a nurse, but you didn't do so hot in statistics your junior year. That's okay. That doesn't mean you can't go to nursing school. In the application review process, when I encounter a scenario similar to that, I definitely dive a little bit deeper into those letters of recommendation. Let's say you have one from that statistics teacher, and they can talk about some of the strengths you had in the classroom, as well as how you addressed some of your weaknesses. So while you might not have been their top student, I think it's really worthwhile to still hear from the teacher themselves, how you were doing in that class, because it helps me understand better how you'll apply maybe some of those changes you made to approaching those weaknesses or things like that into your college experience. So that's another reason why letters of recommendation I feel like are kind of slept on in the college admission review process. But truly, that's where we can fill in gaps and learn more about you as a student. And again, going back to the narrative that you want to create for yourself for presenting yourself in front of admission counselors, those letters of recommendation can help add different perspectives to it.
I actually really love that answer. I think honestly, I would have never thought that recommendations would have been like a really key feature that makes strong applicants stand out. I think most students they really try to aim for that, that perfection in their college applications, making sure that, all A's and 1600, 4.0. But honestly, that helps so much. And to all the students out there watching, this is like a really key thing. And we were talking about the recommendations letter. So I think when people go into their junior year, they really strive to, be a pristine student. They really try to be, a good student to show off for their teachers. So, what is something that students should aim to inspire in their teachers in order to get these exceptional recommendation letters?
That's a great question. And kind of going back to what I was saying to the point of showcasing yourself in different contexts to college admission professionals in the letters of recommendation, when you're thinking about, okay, how can I it's like showcasing yourself almost to your teacher so that they can tell the rest of us about how amazing you are in the classroom. Um, when you're having struggles in a class, that's a really great way to showcase, your adaptability to different situations. So seeking out office hours, asking for extra help from the teacher, even if you're struggling in that class, can be a really great way for that teacher to say, okay, this student is really dedicated to their studies. That's something that all educators on any level really like to see is that, intrinsic motivation from students. So going out of your way to be successful in the classroom or at least try is something that can make you stand out to teachers. Another thing is helping other students. So if you are pretty good in that class, it's always nice to see students who are engaged, maybe helping other students who have been struggling, participating in the classroom discussion, adding, deeper questions to a question a teacher has already answered. These are really amazing classroom skills that teachers will take a look at in your high school and then write about in their recommendation letters to colleges. And the discussion and engagement part of the classroom experience is so essential in college, and it's something you'll encounter at any college you go to is mostly going to be, revolved around that level of engagement, and being able to assist your peers is something that will definitely help you stand out. So, kind of bringing those together, ideas together, being able to be compassionate in the classroom, but also being self-aware about where you are and how you can make changes to improve yourself. Those are all ways that students can stand out to their high school teachers, and then therefore in the letters of recommendation, stand out to admission professional.
I think I'm kind of getting that something like from what I got. Would you say that personal growth throughout the 9 months in the class is something that would be really great to show teachers? Like, I understand that sometimes, students they might not come in so hot during like September, October, but then they start improving and that starts showing in their grades and, their essays, their projects. Would that be something that you would encourage? Well, not really encourage because no one wants to like come in like with D's and C's, but is that something that would be good for a teacher to see?
Yes, definitely. So I want to start off by saying no student is perfect. No student has ever really been perfect. We encounter imperfect students every single day, and we love every single student. So if you're coming in maybe at a lower GPA, we absolutely want to see growth. I know that definitely your high school teachers do too, and that can go a long way in terms of letters of recommendation. Even if there's a question of admissibility, sometimes admission counselors will literally call up your high school guidance counselor and have a conversation. And so if your guidance counselor can say to me, yes, this student has gone in for extra help. They've maybe taken a one less class to lighten their load and dedicate more times to their, core curricular subjects. Those are all great ways to show that initiative and that you want to improve. And we love to see students who have like had a comeback. You may have had maybe a little bit of a struggle at the end of your sophomore year or beginning of your junior year, but we love a comeback. And we validate those comeback stories. So if you're coming back with better grades, we love to see that. If you have, again, specific like anecdotes or strategies that you used to make yourself a better student, we absolutely want to see that. You don't have to be a perfect student to go to college, but you do need to show us that you have that determination and that intrinsic motivation to get yourself there. Because we can get you as far as we can, but then at a certain point, it does come from within. So you don't have to be perfect, but at least if you want to try and show an effort, then for a lot of colleges, that's a really important thing to see.
That's honestly great to hear. I think like a lot of I'm a junior myself, and some of our class maybe they haven't had, the hottest sophomore year. Third quarter was like really bad. But it's great to hear that, showing that you care and you can like, come back from a mistake is amazing. And I love that answer. So moving over to actually the essay portion of the whole college application. What is something that you almost never see in essays, but when it appears, it makes students stand out immediately? I think that a lot of a lot of essays I've like seen, the internet is full of essays and it's really I guess everything's different, right? So you don't really know what's that one like it factor that every essay has. No student knows that. So what would you say to that?
I would say the it factor for me, something that makes an essay stand out if I encounter it, out of all of the hundreds and thousands of essays that I read, would definitely have to be humor. I know that that can be a very tricky thing to incorporate in your college essay. Not everybody has the same sense of humor. Jokes don't always land the same on paper as they do when you're speaking them out loud. So it's very risky. But when I see any kind of humor in a college essay, it shows me that the student is human and an actual person and not like a robot who just goes to class and gets A's and B's and is a good student. But it shows me that there's depth to that student and also a personality. When I talk to students about the college essay and how they should approach it, I always tell them to imagine, because this is what I imagine when I read an essay, is that, the essay's in front of me on the screen, but I'm imagining that that student's actually sitting across from me and delivering that essay in person. So any way that you can show that you're human is a really great strength to your essay. It's also an awesome way to get your voice on paper. I think a lot of English teachers and guidance counselors, when they're giving advice about the college essay, they say the most important thing is to make sure your voice is heard in that essay. And you're like, how do I even do that? Because it's a piece of paper and I obviously can't speak through a piece of paper. But humor is such a great way to, again, show that more human side to the student. And if I laugh during your essay, like chances are I'm probably going to talk about it with my colleagues. We're we're all going to be talking about, we're going to remember you. I remember like, quirky essays that maybe are a little bit unique, where something embarrassing happens to you and you learn from that instance. Those are some, again, human moments that can show a life lesson and still be serious at the same time, which is what we want to see. I want to see you had this experience and you learned this, or it changed your approach to this or your perspective about whatever it is. So, it doesn't have to be super serious all the time. You're not writing to like the president of the United States. You're writing to me. And I'm a person who has had experiences too. And I'm not that much like older than you guys and a lot of college admission counselors too. We range in age. So you're also not writing to like your grandparents most of the time. You're writing to a person who wants to have that genuine connection through the piece of paper.
I love that. I think like honestly, as students, we've built up college admission officers as these really high esteemed individuals that are like deciding our future. Like in The Wizard of Oz, like that guy behind the whole cloak. But honestly, like I've heard this from a lot of admissions officers, and they always tell me like we're human too. We just want to know who you are. And a lot of them tell me that they want to like step into your shoes and really see who you are. And I actually love, honestly, I feel like a lot of people are really naturally funny, but when it comes to like the essay, they're like, okay, I have to be my pristine and, serious self. But I love that you said that humor is a big thing, or not a big thing, but something that we love to see. So great. I love it. It's so great. And so actually many students struggle with their college essays, not because they lack ideas. Like obviously some students they want to talk about, they're passionate about a sport or a passion about computer science, law, medicine, but because of new trends and expectations around essays that emerge from the internet, they make them feel like much more nervous and less confident in their writing. So, what steps can students take to prepare themselves to write these authentic and compelling essays and get over this anxiousness?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I remember when I was in high school, I absolutely hated the college application process. And it was really a large part because of the essay. It is so hard to be introspective at such a young age, and also to write something personal to somebody that you have probably never met, and who seems worlds away from you, in many different ways. So I always tell students that writing multiple drafts can be the best way to find the right fit, find the right topic, find the right tone of voice, and overall feel the most confident in how you're displaying yourself. I advise that you start your college essay as early as possible. as early as you're comfortable, because it gives you more time to write more of those drafts. I use kind of this analogy of when you're finding the right outfit for a particular event, you're not gonna most time, or at least for me, it doesn't. I don't throw on the right outfit the first time. It takes me a couple of outfit changes. I might like a pair of pants, and then I'll change my shirt 5 times. And then when I find the right shirt, I don't like the pants anymore. And then I want to change, if I'm wearing a hat or, a bag or something. So that's very similar to your college essay. It's okay to experiment with ideas, try different things, different styles of writing, and see what feels the most natural to you because at the end of the day, authenticity is going to be a huge factor in how successful a college essay is. And you just won't know what the right fit is until you try, all the different topics and different fits for that college essay. Um, that's kind of a quirky example, but that's what I usually tell students when trying to visualize it. You're not going to write the perfect college essay on the first try. We've all tried to do that. It's usually the at least third or fourth draft that is the best one.
No, I love that analogy, like woman to woman, like that is so relatable. And I also think that when it comes to like the essay, a lot of counselors and a lot of like students like on the internet, they always say like, oh, start like in August when the Common App actually comes out, or start like beginning of summer. But some students might not feel that's like enough time. Like you have to submit it at like what, December, January, and for the early decision and early action ones, you have to submit it even earlier. So some students might not feel that that's enough time. So I like that you said that start as early as possible, like really jot down those ideas. I think one thing that I do is I just like any experience that I have that might be life changing, I just like write it down. So that's just something that I like to do. But yeah, and you already answered my question about how early we should prepare for our college essays. So moving over to the extracurricular part of college applications, what are some of the most important things to do each summer leading up to high school in order to prepare yourself for college? Like from ninth grade summer, 10th grade summer to 11th grade summer. I think students like it's a little bit hard in like we all know what we have to do in 11th grade summer, but ninth and 10th it's like okay, what do we have to do?
Yeah, totally. It's like I don't know when is too early to start, and if I put something on my resume from freshman year, how much are they really going to care about that stuff? Because it was 4 years ago. The truth is, we care about the entire cumulative 4 years. So getting started early can be a really great way to strengthen your application over a long period of time, as opposed to trying to make it as strong as possible the night before November 1st. So in the summertime, I recommend that you do research about the kinds of colleges that you want to go to. So, light research, not super specific, but kind of looking at geographic location. Where in the world do you want to be as your home away from home? And that answer will change every single summer from ninth grade to 12th grade as you do research. But becoming aware of things you like and you don't like over time can help you feel more sure as you actually are applying to schools that maybe are far away or when you are admitted, actually moving there, you can kind of feel a little more secure in knowing, like, I've researched this a little bit. I know this is kind of what I want. I want to be in the South, or I want to be, you know, at a private school or something like that. You kind of have those preferences locked in. Another thing I would recommend that students do from in the summertime from ninth to 12th grade is experiment with different jobs, different career opportunities. That can look like internships or literally just like starting a babysitter club in your neighborhood. Getting different experiences with real world jobs can help you understand what kind of career path you actually want. A lot of students say they want to study business. They don't know exactly what type of business. There's a lot of different types of business. You could do finance, accounting, so getting different experiences in those specific departments can help you narrow down what major you might be interested in, which will contribute to your research process as a whole, because then you can think, okay, now I know I don't like finance, but I do like international business. So looking for schools that have that program specifically. Or if you're not really sure what you want to do on the internship and professional side, having any job in the summer is really great. We don't want to see like empty summers from ninth grade and 10th grade, and you realize college applications were coming up. so you got a job at 11th grade and 12th grade, to show that you're active in whatever it is that you're interested in doing. If you are like, you love working for the carnival in your town and you've done it every summer for 4 years, that's awesome. We want to see that as a professional experience, like that's something you were dedicated to. That is something that taught you different transferable life skills. That's awesome. If you're a lifeguard, great. So doing something in the summertime is a great thing that you should be doing anyway.
Mhm.
For your college essay, or for your college application rather, there's lots of different ways that you can use that summertime to do research and prepare yourself for college, but also get different experiences and see what you like so that you're not deciding, a month before you apply or even after. And that's okay. You can totally change your mind and decide what career path you want to do after you start college. Even after you're done with college, you can still change your mind about those things. But getting some experience, some hours in the summer in any type of job would be great to put on your application.
Yeah, and you were talking about like, joining in all these new experiences, learning from different things. And I think that one way that students really do this is getting into clubs, a lot of clubs.
Mhm.
And we were talking about how, students they sparse themselves out and like especially ninth grade, they like take every single club and they join every single club. And so when it comes to like actually like getting positions in these clubs, how do you weigh leadership roles that come with a title versus influence without an official position? Like, does being a valuable member to a team hold just as much value as being a team leader?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it having an actual titled position versus being an influential member, those can both be just as persuasive, carry just as much weight in the application review process. And the best way to make sure that, if you aren't the class president, but you still were a part of student council, is to make sure that you're being specific and you're using action-driven language when you're putting that in your activities section. So, if you just put member of NHS and you don't really tell me that much about it, okay, you weren't the president, that's fine. But NHS is still a really great club to be a part of that usually on a lot of high school campuses, those students are very impactful with service and other types of leadership. So I want to know exactly what your responsibilities were. So being descriptive is going to be very advantageous for students who maybe were super influential but didn't hold those leadership positions. Now, if you do have a leadership position and it's an actual title that you've earned, that is something you absolutely want to brag about in your college application. Some schools do have different programs or awards and scholarships that are specifically for students based on a leadership um, index of sorts. So I know at Catholic University, we have our Cornerstone program, and that's very similar to our honors program. But instead of just choosing the highest achieving students for the like we would in the honors program, we also look at their service and leadership. So things like being the president of a club, being a part of NHS as a member, but showing the different responsibilities you had can provide new opportunities for you that you may not have even known existed or were available through the admission process.
Yeah, and I think law students, like especially in the schools in my area, they're really chase after those leadership roles. And in some of my clubs, I've seen students who are just as valuable, and they're helping the other students in the club. They're contributing a lot, but they don't necessarily want to take on the responsibilities of a team leader. And I just think that's something that a lot of students underestimate being a valuable member versus being a team leader. So thank you for that. And we are running on low on time here, but I would like to ask one last question. What is one piece of advice you wish every student knew before applying?
My piece of advice for all students looking to apply to college after high school is to, if they can, cut out their friends and their families and their guidance counselors. Stick with me for a second here from the process. In terms of searching for the right school, as much as you or every school has, a best fit, you are a best fit for a certain school as well. And understanding what it is that you truly want from a college experience can be really difficult when you have a lot of different voices saying different things in your ears. So your friends might be saying one thing about this is the best school and my sister goes here and we should all apply. Your parents might be saying something to you about, this is where I went to school, or this school has a really great, program or is top research for something. And your guidance counselor might be saying something completely different, like, I think you could be a good fit for this. You have to tune out those voices at a certain time and really think about what you want to do and where you want to go. Because when you move into college, after the admission process is over and you've unpacked your dorm room, there's going to be a moment where you're sitting by yourself and it's quiet and you're there and now you have to do it. So you have to be able to picture yourself on a college campus, um, without your friends and family and guidance counselors there now, in order to make the best decision for yourself. But always know that it's never too late to change your mind. So that's my best advice. I wish I knew that when I was in high school because there was so much pressure from other people that really influenced a lot of my choices. And I think going back, I would totally tune out some of those distractions and other voices and really focus on my priorities.
Totally relatable. And thank you so much for that answer. And thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. It was truly a pleasure to have you.